Hi. So last night in the NFL draft, the Chargers made a surprising yet extremely effective move. They drafted a guy who literally should start for them on day one. And meantime, in the opposite end of the spectrum, the very first player to lift the Stanley Cup for the Los Angeles Kings is retiring at the end of the year. Crazy day, ain't it? I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. Now, it does indeed look like a very gloomy day outside. And yes, I am still stuck in Omaha, Nebraska, where Warren Buffett will come out. And by the way, Mr. Buffett, if the first words at this conference out of your mouth are not, hey, I didn't like Trump either, but let's be real, Biden sucks. If that's not the first words out of your mouth, your conference is a complete waste of time. But I'm here to talk sports. We had a new subscriber last night. I appreciate you joining in. If you like the content we've been putting out for the last couple of months, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. Because we put out a new video between 9 and 10 a.m. every single day. It'll let you know it's there. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yes, comment. For I am not God. I am not perfect. What do you say we start off by looking at the scoreboard and the notes before we get to the main topic of Chargers football? Last night, the Kings wrapped up the regular season. They lost in overtime to Vancouver 3-2. Kings finished the regular season with 99 points. They've already qualified for the Stanley Cup playoffs. They'll face Edmonton in the first round. Meanwhile, tonight, Detroit comes into town. They'll face the Dodgers at 7 p.m. Also, the NFL draft is continuing. That's in Vegas. With the second and third rounds, broadcast coverage beginning at 4. The Chargers will pick in the third round. It's spot 79, and the Rams also have third round pick at 104. I want to start off, though, by talking about Dustin Brown. We, as Los Angeles sports fans, have been extremely fortunate. The Dodgers have a few titles. The Raiders won a Super Bowl even before the Rams won their Super Bowl this year. The Lakers have won a ton of titles. The LA Galaxy have 5 MLS Cups. We've hosted Olympics. We have enjoyed a bounty of success in sports. But I have to tell you, until 2012, the one thing I honestly thought I would never see is the LA Kings winning the Stanley Cup. Until Dustin Brown came along. You see, Dustin Brown was part of this young core that included Anze Kopitar, and it included Jonathan Quick and Drew Doughty. But Quick was the captain. So it's not enough to simply say, oh, you know, he played about 1,300 games, most in team history. And it's not enough to say that he's 6th in the team for regular season goals in history and 8th in assists in regular season history. No. Dustin Brown was a human wrecking ball. He wasn't just a threat to score. And he wore the captaincy on his gear. Now, when you're the captain, that means the rest of the team follows your lead. And Dustin Brown was consistently one of the NHL's leader in hits. So the rest of the Kings would hit too. And from that, they developed a style called the heavy game. The Kings were a violent team to play against because they would just keep hitting you until you submitted. It was a wonderful thing to watch. He won 2 Stanley Cups. And even after the passage of time, when the captaincy was taken from him, normally that is a cause for locker room drama. Normally the former captain gets traded. But Dustin Brown did not publicly complain, not once. And as a result, the Kings basically were able to go through their rebuild. That, I give that man a ton of credit for. His jersey number should and will be hanging from the rafters of Crypto.com Arena. I appreciate everything Dustin Brown's done as a Kings fan. Let's move over and talk a little college athletics. We've been mentioning about UCLA football, how they were going to have problems on the tackles in their offensive line. Maybe they're coming close to solving it. They're getting a transfer from Oregon. Jalen Jeffers, he does play tackle, and apparently he's going to slot in as a starter really quickly. Meanwhile, at the other side, basketball, Miles Johnson, a starting center, he's retiring. He's not going to come back. He has another year of eligibility with UCLA. He's not going to do it. He's not going to the NBA. He wants to finish his degree in engineering instead. And I got to tell you, Miles Johnson is a different breed of cat. I must admit that. Because if he had stayed with the Bruins, they're still in contention for an NCAA title. Perhaps they still are, but now the Bruins have lost 2 starters that could have theoretically returned. Now, as for the center position, 2 freshmen are going to compete to become the starter next year. But a starter as a freshman versus a 5th-year senior, let's be real, that's a kind of a hit. Also for UCLA basketball, David Singleton, he will return for his 5th season. He was a spot starter. He has an outside shot. Let's go to soccer. LAFC. The Athletic has written a very complimentary piece on manager Steve Cherundolo, and honestly, they should. LAFC, they only have 1 loss on the year, obviously, to the Galaxy, and I was skeptical that Cherundolo would be a success like that. I was skeptical because he managed the Las Vegas Lights in the USFL. Actually, I should say USL. Let's be real, there's a lot more people in the stands at the USL than there are for the USFL. Have you seen USFL football? What a joke. Anyway, but the thing that really has caught my attention is they're saying, oh, Cherundolo, he's this really calming influence for LAFC. Is he? Because LAFC keeps swarming the refs to bitch when calls don't go their way. They did it against the Galaxy. They did it last week, even though they won the game. They are now have been fined by MLS for violating the, quote, mass confrontation policy. So in other words, Cherundolo is calm. But is LAFC? I don't think so. Meanwhile, there's a teenager in the LA Galaxy Academy. His name's Alex Alcala. He has actually not going to play with the Galaxy when he finally turns 18. He has signed a contract to play for Manchester City. Why does this matter? Because there is a viral video. This kid's got skill. In this video, the Galaxy Academy team was playing the Manchester United Academy team. He was making those players look absolutely foolish. It was amazing. They were already calling him the Mexican Messi. Now, whether that's going to be a fair nickname to have or not, that remains to be seen. But Alex Alcala, go check out that video on YouTube. It's stunning. Let's go to the Chargers and the NFL draft in general. First thing I want to do, though, is I want to mention that there was a USC player taken in the first round, wide receiver Drake London. He goes to Atlanta. Now, that was a bit of a surprise because he might have gone a little early at number 8. Virtually every mock draft I read across the board, he's going to the Jets at 10, he's going to the Jets at 10, he's going to the Jets at 10. No, he didn't. He didn't make it that far. And as a result, we're giving it mixed grades in the people that I've been reading. CBS, for example, they give him a B+. They're saying, yeah, he's a good receiver, but there were better options. And not only a receiver, but oh, by the way, the pass rush stinks over for Atlanta. Fox said the same thing. Fox called the pick the first, quote, stunner of the draft. Because Atlanta has the league's worst pass rush, why didn't you get a defensive end? ESPN, though, is giving them some slack. And honestly, I think ESPN might be onto something here. They're like, yeah, Atlanta doesn't have a pass rush, but their top 3 receivers are gone. Remember Julio Jones? He's been gone for a year. And Atlanta lost 2 other people on top of that. So yeah, in a sense, I can sit there and argue that Drake London should have gone to the Atlanta Falcons. You can call it a bit of a reach. I think he might be just what they need on offense. Tell me what you think. By the way, no UCLA players were selected in the first round, but none were expected to be selected in the first round. Oh, and by the way, we mentioned yesterday that Drew Rosenhaus, the agent, he was saying that there were a bunch of teams interested in Drake Jackson, a defensive end from USC, and of course that turned out to be a bunch of agent blarney. The Chargers took guard Zion Robinson from Boston College. This is potentially a sneaky good pick, okay? He's 6'2", 314 pounds. Now, it looked like a bit of a reach. Usually guards get taken super late in the first round, not at 17, or they get taken in the second and the third. But this is sneaky good because he's not simply a guard. During his time at Boston College, he played tackle and he played center. So you have to have brains to play center, and you certainly have to have intelligence to play all three positions. So he's extremely versatile, and that's going to help the Chargers. We'll get to why in a moment. But in addition to the intelligence and the versatility, he will be an immediate starter for them. Fox Sports referred to him as, quote, the blueprint of a starting interior lineman, called him a block of granite. He excels both in pass coverage and in run blocking. So yeah, he's going to protect Herbert, and he's going to help Justin Eckler get extra yards. This was the safe bet for a position of need, because we had been talking in videos past about how the Chargers offensive line was probably now a little bit suspect after all the upgrades the Chargers made during the free agent period. We were speculating here a couple of days ago, what are the Chargers going to do? We thought they were going to take a tackle over on the right side, and then they were going to take their left guard Matt Feeler and move him over to the left side, and or move him over to the right side. I apologize, and remake everything from there. Well, that may not be the case. General Manager Tom Telesco is saying that they're going to keep Feeler over at the left guard. So what does this mean? This means the Chargers have a very thick interior on the offensive line. Left guard Feeler, center Corey Linsley, who they love, and right guard Zion Johnson. Meanwhile, at the tackles, they got Slater at the left tackle, and they're going to basically have Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins battle out on the right-hand side. Now, let's assume for the moment that Storm Norton or Pipkins, neither of them take the bull by the horns. Well, according to the people who covered the Chargers, that's still not the end of the world. Because again, you're talking about the versatility of Feeler. You're talking about the versatility of Johnson. Plan B, theoretically, would be taking Zion Johnson, move him to left guard, and then take Feeler, move him over to right tackle. And then what you do is, apparently there's a gentleman on the bench named Brandon James who would wind up being the new right guard. Now, I realize I'm throwing a bunch of names around and I'm juggling this, that, and the other. I get it. The upshot is this. It's a brilliant pick because Zion Johnson gives them options in at least 3 or 4 spots on the offensive line. And that also gives the Chargers flexibility to find ways to protect Justin Herbert. But what do you think? Are you disappointed that they took a guard? Now, if you enjoyed today's episode, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Corte El Queso production. Take care.